Well, Donna, thank you so much for taking some time to sit down with me virtually and
You're
talk a little
welcome.
bit. I'm excited to have you on Real Talk with David. It's the first time I've had the opportunity to interview you, but you're not new to my world, and so I'm excited to learn some things myself, but also for my listeners to get to know you. So
Thank you.
take me back before real estate. What was Donna Reed up to?
Yeah, so I moved to Arizona in the year 2000, the year that everybody wondered if our computers were going to make it,
Y2K.
all those things. And I worked for a financial planner as setting appointments. It was the company my brother worked for. Believe it or not, I licensed. I got my Series 6 for insurance and all that, but I didn't love it. And then for a couple years, I booked professional speakers. And that was
Really?
great fun. That was a whole lot of dial, dial, dial for people that you knew were going to book speakers, but you didn't know if the plumbers union was going to book a plumber or if they were going to book a John Maxwell, right? And so you had to work your way through the things to get to the person that made the bookings. And I should say, as expected, I did pretty good the first year, but it was 2004 going into five. And one of my friends had talked to me about real estate. And I had thought about it back in Ohio, David. I grew up in a town of, I used to say 499 people when I'm not home. And farmers and people bought houses and lived in them forever. Like my friends are still in the same homes that they got or built or
Mhm.
bought or inherited 50 years ago.
I believe it. I come from a small town and it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I never saw it as an option to make a lot of money, but it was always in my brain. So in 2005, when I had a friend suggest that I get into this business, I got licensed and started with Realty Executives, which Anthony owned, um, and did the 50-50 split with someone. It wasn't a team per se, but it was just learning the business.
Yeah,
And
collaborating.
to give you an idea, her number is like 2,300 something. My number is 18,000 something, and now we're in the 60,000s or whatever,
You're
So
right.
it gives you an idea of how long she'd been in the business. And and after a couple of years, I felt like I was ready to go on my own, and I had paid enough of my money to her. Ironically, and I'm just going to say it's this full circle. She is now retiring, and I have a listing right now because of her
Wow.
that I'm going to give her a referral fee on because she didn't want to do it anymore.
I
So
mean, that speaks to lifetime value of
yeah,
relationships, right?
someone I know from church, someone I sang with, as different as night and day. And our friends used to say, "You can't talk about each other when you come to church."
So you just celebrated 20 years in the business.
I did. It'll be 21 in April or May or around in there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And so you were with one of our fellow business partners, pretty much from the get-go at Realty
Yeah. Yeah.
Execs. Okay.
When Anthony decided to close that franchise and we all met at La Paloma or wherever we met and 400 agents, some stayed, some left. Um, I stayed with Keller Williams. Didn't really know what or why. Just I don't like change, David.
Hey, that's fair. Hey, I want to ask you before the real estate piece, it seems like there was a change in enjoyment level between what you were doing in financial services to this like prospecting heavy business of booking public speakers. Like, what was it that you enjoyed about that more, or did I read that wrong?
You know, First of all, just finding out who booked public speakers was amazing and what the budgets were. But then the same time the real estate market was going crazy, suddenly those people weren't paying 10 or 20 or $50,000 for speakers. They were hiring the local electrician, things like that. So it was kind of this weird precarious balance of time. Um, I I liked doing that. I like people. My middle son will tell you when I met a family from Mexico City and Denver over Christmas, it made my day at the bar. Didn't Nothing else mattered. The food didn't matter, the music didn't matter. So it's all people. It's all
Mhm.
relationship. And My kids were of an age now, let's see, in 2005, I only had one left and he was in college, I think. It's awful when you can't remember. Uh, and so this gave me some flexibility. I had run a bakery back in the day, and the bakers were on their way to work, and I was unlocking stores when drunks were going home. And I didn't want to do that again. I didn't want to punch a clock. I and to go back even further, people would tell me I was super organized. David, you know my disc profile, right? I'm not a
I
high
have a general
C.
awareness.
Yeah. Like, really? I got evaluated that way? So I guess I get it done, come hell or high water
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, what I
Um,
think is interesting is that even when I ask you that question, Donna, the first thing that you said is so telling of who I've come to know you as, which is I've always seen you as a naturally curious person.
mm,
And you said one of the things that you enjoyed, it was just interesting who was booking public speakers. And the reason I bring that up is as you think about real estate, it's all about solving problems.
mm.
You have to have some level of natural curiosity into people's stories and situations and what problem they're trying to solve if you're going to be effective. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes it means sitting people down and saying, have you two talked about what you want, Mr. Husband and Mr. Wife? Mr.
Yeah.
Wife, Mr. Whatever, you know what I mean?
I mean, you never know.
Have you all talked about your top five things? Because I don't think they're the same. And that's one of the hard conversations, if partners aren't on the same page, or learning who makes the financial decisions, or learning who cares about the decorating versus do the windows open.
Mm. Well, in a natural curiosity,
Yes.
I find leads to the ability to ask better questions.
Yeah.
If you're constantly coming to any conversation with this posture of, I know, I anticipate, like all of this stuff, then you're not necessarily going to be able to ask the right question and then shut up long enough to actually hear. And so I think just again, to underline it, it's just one of the reasons you're successful, I believe, is because of your curiosity, which leads to an ability to ask questions, good
And and
questions.
and David, I am a talker. There's no doubt about that.
That's
I
why we love
actually
each other.
I know. And I actually feel like I have really become a good listener too. And I can get super emotional about this based on my life because
Hmm.
you guys know some of my life. But when you share and when you listen, you understand that everybody's got a story. And the
Hmm.
story might be the woman who never paid a bill and then her husband passed away and she doesn't know anything about money.
Hmm.
And so this journey of real estate, yep, we can make a good living. We can sell manufactured homes in the country and luxury homes in town. And at the end of the day, it's still about working, uh, molding the pottery to turn into what they want it to be, so that everybody's happy in the end. And you can cut this out of here if you want, but the other day I found out that a single woman I just sold a home to who moved here from Yuma, needed to rotate a king size mattress on her bed. And I had gone over to take her closing gift, and she got it done and she was telling me about it and how she did it. Well, I needed to rotate my king size mattress, but she was in an empty room. I'm in a room filled with stuff. So when I got that done because of the help of one of the younger agents who I mentor, I called her up and I go, guess what? I rotated the mattress, which sounds so silly. And yet that was a big thing for her to try to figure out as an older person moving to Tucson without somebody close by. So it was just, those are the kind of little stories that matter.
I would never think of cutting that out because it gets at the heart of what this business is all about, which is helping people. And and what I love when I get to talk to you, Donna, is that your heart always comes out like very quickly. And I've got to ask you, like, it's going to sound like a weird question, but why do you care so much?
That is an excellent question, and I should probably see a therapist about that. Because I know that there are people in this business who are super successful who are just number machines, you know? Um, I think when I go back to my childhood, I had three brothers, I have three sons. My parents never said, as a girl, you should, as a woman, you should, or shouldn't. They always just said, do your best and people matter. And my father sold insurance to farmers who he went to their homes when they were coming in from the fields at the end of the day. And he developed long relationships. And that is what made him successful.
Mm,
So I think that there's just a huge piece of me, but I also believe as I've gotten older, we can have all the plans in the world, and then life happens, and we don't know. We see the surface, we see the Christmas letters, we see the happy-go-lucky podcasts and things online. And behind it all is another story. And I just think as I've gotten older, I'm like, everybody has a story. And that is fascinating to me because it shows the connectivity of the world. People everywhere, race, creed, color, religion, doesn't matter. We all have a story.
that's such an impactful statement that your father instilled in you. Do your best and people matter. I want your perspective. I consider you someone who has a lot of wisdom.
Mm.
And for the last 20 years, you've operated around people. You've been very successful yourself in the eyes of the real estate community.
Right.
And you've been surrounded by people who, from a numeric standpoint, have done even more, right?
Yeah.
Developed massive, massive, massive businesses. And at least as long as I've known you, you have ability to see things from different perspectives on the beach ball. All that to kind of set the table for this question. What does it mean to do your best?
It might mean like today waking up and making the list and crossing things off the list, which I don't always do. You know, my best may not be your best, David. And I've watched some of your interviews with Kristen. And clearly, Kristen and I are 100% different people, or at least 50-50, right? In who we
A little
are
bit.
and how we operate and the decisions we make. But I think doing my best protects me, helps me, and means the same for everybody around me. Whether it's the kids that call me Mama Donna that graduated with my son, who I think is probably like your age, you know? um, or whether there's really a huge focus on women who are older, who aren't ready to go into a retirement community, but could and qualify, and knowing that they're alone for the first time. So doing my best means making sure that I've checked all of their boxes so
Mm,
that as people moved into the next arena, they're not calling me 2 or 3 months later going, what the heck were you thinking?
there's
And
something
yeah.
there's something really beautiful about that. That even in that question of what is your best, you are so others focused. And I think that's just another, it's not just a business principle because business principles are just true principles and
Right.
business and truth just they should go hand in hand. And the principle there is when you when you put others first, you
Mhm.
win. When you help them get what they want, you get what you want.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really beautiful and a very deep way of answering like what it is to do your best. And I think it's also deeply it is deeply personal as
Hmm.
well. And I don't think we can define that for other people. Um, so 20 years in the business, going on 21. I'm curious, what has been the moment that you're most proud of in your
Ooh,
real estate business?
oh, that's super hard. I, if I can define being proud related to an older brother who's more in the realm of Kristen's worth, it would be having my older brother say to me, "You seem to have found something that really works for you."
Hmm.
Because he didn't think that when I ran a bakery. And he didn't necessarily think that when I was booking professional speakers. But when he trusted me to buy homes and invest here and flip. And again, we're 100% different personality. I remember everybody from high school. He barely remembers the high school. Uh, But that was a very proud moment for me. And I
Hmm.
think pride's a hard word because I could say I'm proud of one of my kids, or I'm proud of the new young man in the office that did 32 open houses in a month. I've never done that. I have no right to be proud of him because I had nothing to do with him succeeding in that. So that's a tough word. I do feel proud that this office, that our current group of leaders in our offices who tend to be substantially younger than me, trust me to ask me questions and my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, and they know I'm going to give it to them whether they want it.
So they may as well ask.
Right. But like if Jake calls me when he's driving home from Sierra Vista, that makes me proud.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, well, you've earned that opportunity in our world, and it, I didn't necessarily define where you are, but Donna has, as you've picked up, has been a long time staple in our Southern Arizona office, and you guys know that we operate offices all across the state of Arizona, and let me you've mentioned something when you were talking about pride is an interesting word, and I value your opinion on words so much
mm.
because you actually wrote a book on words. And
Yes.
and
And
I want you like I want to get into that a little bit here because you have all this real estate experience and clearly you've shared so much of your heart already in our conversation. I want to
yeah.
know like when did Donna like what was it that said like okay, now I want to write a book?
So years ago, I started one, and it was called When Your Rose-Colored Glasses Are Broken, Get a New Pair and Move On. And
Okay.
that was after my recent ex-husband's suicide and my son's
Mm,
first diagnosis with schizophrenia.
mm,
And I never finished the book, David, because the story isn't over with him. He's in a crisis center right now. You know, the old. So that book got shoved aside. And but I don't know if you pay any attention to me on Facebook or whatever. I write a lot, and I'll just say, you can read it's a choice. People have to read my stuff.
mm. Right.
So after a Zoom call with family, um, something happened, and you also know I'm not a swearer, but I literally like hung up the Zoom to my phone X and thought, effing family, freaking family, because there
And
had
watch out, I'm gonna have to put the explicit tag on this.
I know, I know. The other day, the word crap got X'd out. I I found myself thinking after a phone call, and when my brother underneath me called, that we were 16 and 12 again, that we weren't 64 and 60, and that we are who we are, who we are as people. And I called a friend and said, I'm going to write a book about F words. And it started with family. And then people started sending me words. I don't think I could ever write a novel. I could never be somebody where chapter two had to connect to chapter one. But it's 52 weeks of words, and it's 2 pages, 3 pages, 5 pages. I had friends who illustrated the imagery from all over the world. I had photos that were sent to me, and you know my love of languages. I used the word fenêtre, which is windows in French because window starts with a W, but I wanted to write about windows. And in each writing, I wrote my personal story with a little bit of how does this affect you? Like, what does faith mean to you, David? Does it mean I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive home and not think about it, and there's not going to be an accident, and I'm not going to run a red light? We just move through the world without even thinking consciously that faith is part of our what's happening, because it's typically used related to religion
Right.
and what we believe. And so it's 52 fun words. And today I did a video about termites in Tucson, and I'm trying to use an F word at the end of each little video. And I said, so fortify your home.
What did writing a book do for you personally?
I had a lot of people tell me that they've thought about it, that they have ideas and they haven't done it. So the idea that I did it and completed it is a thing. Another, okay, pat myself on the back. I did it. As with many things that I do, I don't know that I had some grand idea of what it would do for me. And I have 1,000 books in my garage. So one was completing the task and saying, I wrote a book. Another was knowing that some of my personal stories might help somebody somewhere else. And I'm going to tell you, I got a call from someone a couple weeks ago who I only know peripherally, and she was calling about something I had written and wanted to ask my opinion on something. And I was flabbergasted because I didn't even know she had read anything. By the way, flabbergasted is a word that we
One
use.
of
So, so completing it is a thing. And then I think you know, because we've had a little bit of a discussion, that having the conversation about how language evolves through the generations, that, and I'm not going to say his name, but, I was in the car and I said, if I had my druthers, I would do something. And he said, what are druthers? And I said, well, it came from would rather, I would rather. And then it became this. And someone who didn't know that IHOP used to be International House of Pancakes, and that Davenport was a sofa named after someone named Davenport. So we're 5 to 6 generations working together who speak different languages. And because of where we live, I've honed this class that I'm starting to do called From Petroglyphs to Emojis, because I think learning to converse and understand 5 or 6 generations really matters for us. And the book kind of led to that.
I'm going to ask you a question that I know the answer to because we have had this conversation, but why does language matter in real estate?
I think that we can do all the texts, we can do all the pictures, we can do how many ways do we have to contact each other now? And yet, I don't think we know the stories unless we have a phone conversation. You can email, you can say this, and if I have someone whose first language is Spanish and I know I speak vacation Spanish, I probably need somebody to help with that. And I could say that, yes, I can do French. I can do a little Italian. I can do a little German, and I can do a little Swedish. Can I negotiate in Swedish? No. So it's not just languages across the world, it's the languages among the generations and
Mm.
how we communicate with each other. And my son, who is my youngest, who's 38, I'll call him and I'll say, Caleb, what do you think? And he'll say, Mom, I need to ask the middle schoolers at my school. So I just, I think we have to understand each other, and it doesn't just happen with pictures and acronyms and abbreviations.
I think that I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
no.
my 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 mind goes to the culture of um, our company, but really any company or team, right? Communication is if it's not the foundation, like it is the cornerstone
Mhm.
of a culture. And you have to have a shared set of vocabularies, a credo, if you will, if you think you're going to ever do anything worth doing. And what I love about your infatuation with words, Donna, and with this conversation is that you've long been, if I polled all of our 1,000 agents across the state, your name would come up the most in a poll around culture, right?
Oh,
And I want you to talk internally, even though I've got listeners all over the place, not just inside of Access, but I want you to speak internally to our company as a leader. You are a ALC member, which for those of you who don't know KW speak, that is Agent Leadership Council. You're someone that I look to for counsel when making decisions, right? What what would you say about communication inside of our walls and how we can communicate better with one another as agents to build the culture of our organization? Like, what do you have to say to that?
that is so challenging. And I'm going to say post-COVID, even though people are sick of hearing it, but it changed our world, right? We went from everybody at the office and conversation and everybody at meetings to nothing, to working our way back and having text, email, messenger, QR codes, and and I literally will send a text to someone and say, please read your email. Because I learned to type on a keyboard and I want bigger letters to read. But the culture, as evidenced by ALC and the meeting that we just had in Phoenix with the various, departments, it can mean the same or not to different people. For some, it's how do we grow our businesses? How do we put systems in place that help us produce? How do we do this, or this? I have been on the culture committee long enough to know that, agents helping agents, that we have people struggling all the time. And it might mean struggling for a tire on their car or $50 for gas, or I can't pay my dues at the beginning of the year. And if we don't know, we can't help each other. And if we are, in fact, a family or a team or whatever you want to call us, we need to know. I can't help my brother if I don't know what's going on. So, to me and for me, I'm all about fun. I'm all about games. I want to have some fun. And I think that's the other piece. I live in Tucson. My two youngest sons are in Denver. I don't have a spouse. I don't have grandkids here. So who else is alone in Tucson that
Mm,
might need the pleasure of that pancake breakfast that our staff did for us in the basement of the building because they don't have anything else going on for,
mm.
and I think that that is the importance. It's part of the reason I keep an office at the office because I want people to be able to walk in with the good, the bad, and the ugly because we all
Mm.
got it.
Well, and you get something out of that too, right? Because of just the type of person you are. I imagine there's some level of fulfillment in being able to have that purpose.
Yep.
But I think what you're getting at is that every person in our world wants access to something different.
Hmm.
And it's easy in a growth infatuated, which we should be. We are building businesses.
Right.
And it's not lost on me that it's sometimes eh, unmentioned that some people just want access to another conversation. They want to be able to sit down and ask Donna a question. They want to,
That's what that chair is for in my office. That big old
right.
relaxing chair. Yeah.
And I think what you do is for everyone you're in business with, I think you provide such a healthy and right perspective that not everyone's after the same thing. Do
Yeah.
your best doesn't look the same for every single person, but do we have space for, do we have a pathway for, do we have opportunity for that person who, this year, what they need because they lost a spouse is they just need access to other people because that's what's going to get them to actually lead generate and call their database. They need to
Yeah.
see someone else, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's what I, am I am I
No,
reflecting back what you're saying?
absolutely. Yeah. And we don't know what we don't know, David. So I think it's funny, I go back to Christmas letters. I said when people were people aren't doing all the Christmas letters because we talk all the time online or something, but people would summarize their year and you'd look at it and you go, wow, they had a really good year. And yet behind the scenes, there could be something entirely different. And so I also feel very, very confident in that I don't have the answers to everything. And yet I will ask. I'm not afraid to ask. And if that means asking Dan, or that means asking you, or this means asking Anthony or Kristen, I'll go to who I need to go to get the answer because I don't want to pretend I know when I don't know. And I and I don't think that makes me less good. I think it actually makes me better as an
Mm.
agent using the resources around me to to get the job done.
Well,
So,
and it's almost full circle because at the beginning you used that same phrase. I don't know if I'd call myself organized, I think you said, but I get it done. And again, that's another reason why, I mean, successful agents sometimes aren't the most organized.
yeah.
They might not have a system, but they get the job done.
Yeah.
Well, what's next for Donna Reed? 21 years into the business. What's next?
So there's a piece of me that thinks that living alone, being alone, I should just keep selling and getting to the point where maybe I can sell when I want to or not, like James Tegas, the people that in their 80s still get their licenses, because I think it's good for our brains. I think it's good for our brains to keep going to school, to keep learning, to do all that. If I had my druthers,
I
I
know
would,
what that means.
I would spend probably 6 weeks a year and in a little town in France where I could actually feel what it feels like to live there as compared to just being the tourist.
Hmm.
And I am really working on a TED Talk and some speaking related to this whole idea of petroglyphs to emojis and what that looks like. And it kind of fell to the back burner in the last couple of months. So I am meeting with my coach to this month to talk again about, okay, put your foot on the pedal, you know? And
It's awesome.
yeah. And David, I want to
Oh,
say one other thing to you before we cut off. There was a time when I felt like if I wasn't on a team at Keller Williams, I wasn't valuable.
hmm.
And there are people that left. All of my best friend agents have gone to other companies, and that was part of it. And that is not the case anymore. I feel like in the last couple of years, there has definitely been an evolution where our leadership sees the value in the individual agent just as much as the growing team. Because I don't want to have a big team.
Yeah.
I I want to help the new people when they come in, and then they help me, and then I give them a dinner.
Well, well, good. I'm glad that that's the environment. I like to say all the time, um, culture is what you feel when you walk into a room.
Mhm.
That's my definition of culture.
Yep.
You can quickly identify just when you walk into a room what the
Yeah.
culture of any company is. And if that's how you feel, that's exactly what we want to be creating. We want to be a space where every person has an opportunity pathway for success.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you added that, but I'm not done yet because I want to transition us into the last segment of my show, which, if you've
Uh-oh.
ever listened to it, is three, two, one, action. Same three questions I ask every guest. So
Okay.
I don't prepare my guests for anything, but I
No, you do
really don't
not.
prepare you for this. So the first question I want to ask you, and these are just rapid fire. First question is, what book has been most impactful on your life and why?
I've read a lot of books. Um, it's easy to go to a self-help book, but I think, and you're going to find this very odd, that years ago I read a book called The Clan of the Cave Bear, and it's about the ancient scripts and writings in prehistoric people. And it has led me to my interest in petroglyphs and in language and in the evolution across the years.
That is I love it. I love it. And this is one of the reasons why we get along because I did a whole episode, I think it was last year, on put the self-help books down and pick up some fiction and
Yeah.
just, and that's not an example of fiction, but it
Yeah.
necessarily, right? It's nonfiction,
Yeah.
but I just think it's so important to get away from the, as good as they are, the Mel Robbins and the Tony Robbins and all that. Just go read Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I started with
go
Nancy Drew when I was a kid,
right,
mysteries,
right. Go read the Hardy Boys to your kids. Like, and the what that does for a business owner, like an entrepreneur, just to be able to shut your brain off
Yes.
from a analytical standpoint and just be creative. I think, yeah, whenever I did that episode, it was because I was feeling that. I was like, our agents and the high performers that I'm coaching just need that like breath for their brain.
You have to
Um,
venture into a different arena for a short time. Yeah.
totally, totally. Well, question number two and is um, who in your life has been most impactful? And I want to hear why, but I want you to answer this question as if you were talking directly to them, thanking them.
Oof. So from a no longer living, it probably would be my father because I believe I am way more like him than my mother, and that may be generational. Mom was the stay-at-home mom. It might have been the post-World War II thing. And so my dad taught me to laugh at mistakes. He taught me to do my best. He taught me to always treat people as important. He taught me that the world is a big place and your hometown is just as important as or more important than the big place. And that it doesn't matter if their table's dirty or spick and span. It doesn't make them bad or good because he could come in from the fields. Dad would come in and he'd say, brush all the crap off the table to sit down. And simultaneously, the ones where we could eat off the floor.
Mm,
And so I would say thank you to my dad for those things and values.
that's touching. All right. Well, I don't know why I always do that more emotional question before the last question, but throughout you might not know this, Donna, but my podcast used to be called the All In Podcast, and so
The
this is a
all in.
All
Okay.
In podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a carryover as I've evolved in my own um, business and brand and whatnot. But yeah, I believe that every agent can access whatever they want in this
Mm,
world. I believe that real estate is a platform for whatever you want to put out into the world. And so if you're talking to an agent, doesn't matter how successful, but they want access to something and they're going to just push the chips all in on the real estate business, what's the one thing that they should do right now to move the needle forward in their business?
oh, that one thing is a book. Yeah. Um, I think I would say you have to wake up every day with a clear mind, the knowledge that you will succeed. And if that means you call your dad and say, Dad, do you know anybody buying a house in Tucson? You make that phone call, you make the connection, and stay active in the arenas you love. And if the
Mm,
arena you love is pickleball, Play pickleball because you're probably going to pick up a client from pickleball. And if it's mothers against drunk drivers, whatever it is, go where your heart leads you because you will get future business because they will know you, like you, and trust you from
I
how.
couldn't have said it any better myself. I think you're exactly right. Donna, people are going to absolutely love this episode. They're going to want to connect with you. They may have referrals for Tucson, Arizona. So, what's the best place for them to either find you, find your book, get connected with you?
So I'm very active on Facebook, but for more from a personal perspective than a business page. The best way to reach me is my email is donna@reedtucson.com, Tucson, Tucson, and Reed, Reed. And my phone number is 520-631-4638. Text, email, Facebook. I use all the places. I just already told you I prefer a keyboard and an email than to have to punch things in this little phone. And
Well,
and then I can tell them how to reach my book. So
awesome. Well, listeners, we went a little bit more internal for some of the agents in our world today. And so I want to talk directly to you. If you're an access agent at KW Arizona or KW Southern Arizona or any of our offices, any of my offices across the state, and you're interested in talking to one of your ALC members, Donna Reed, then hit the show notes. I'll have her email and phone number there in the show notes. If you are interested in picking up her book, I encourage you to grab it. I got a copy. I read it when it first came out. It's awesome. And I'm sure we'll have her across our offices for a little tour of her TED Talk and petroglyphs to emojis. Donna, thank you for hanging out with me today. I value
thank
your
you,
time.
David. I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Guys, this has been another episode of Real Talk with David. As always, go play all in.